You're listening to the Occupational Philosophers with Simon Banks and John Rice.
Hello and welcome to the Occupational Philosophers, the not-so-serious business podcast that each and every week mashes up the world of creativity, curiosity, and a healthy sprinkling of philosophy. As always, I'm joined by my co-host in the UK. Good morning, John Rice. Hello.
Hello, Simon. Woohoo! We are celebrating, aren't we? We are celebrating. We are 100 and something.
Something, depending on when the episode comes out, but we are in the early hundreds. So, hey, exciting times.
I received a telegram from the King.
Yes.
Because obviously when you reach 100 in the UK, you get a telegram from the King. So that was nice. And I'm having a cake made, which obviously 100 and something is going to make it quite a big cake rather than having a definitive number on it.
I think I'm going to get something along the lines of when I go in the house. Do you do a podcast? So, yeah.
That's it.
With some rolled eyes and say, get your own dinner.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. When did you start that? What? We go for years.
What?
So, by way of celebration, Simon, we were going to, I think, reflect on some of the brilliant guests we've had. We won't be able to touch on all of them today, will we? But we thought maybe this might be the start of something. Maybe we sort of have little episodes where we do delve back in to some of their pearls of wisdoms that we've had from the guests and talk a bit more about them.
Essentially, that's been the most delightful thing about doing this, apart from your hang out with yourself, is the research you do, like looking into the guests and what they do, but then just that wisdom they share. And I'll say wisdom, jokes, stories, insight. I've learned so much just from that. So it's in a nice way, even though this is hard work. It's forced us. It's forced myself, I should say, to do a lot more reading and research than I might have.
Yeah, and just the human stories as well, where you just hear about their lives and the paths that they've taken and the different sliding door moments and the moments that have taken them to where they are. I always find that fascinating as well. There we go. Way more fascinating than my own.
Yeah. Your sliding door moment was when you couldn't get into the house, like you locked yourself out.
It was a literal sliding door moment. That's the most excitement.
My life was forever changed.
I went into the kitchen instead of the back lounge. Anyway, right. We're going off on a tangent there.
I'm going to go to you, John. As I said, what we do, if you go to our website, we have the Maniguesto tree, and you can look at what all our guests have left as their sort of one bit of sage advice. And in a similar way, we often put that bit of advice, if we can fit it, on the front of the episode cover. So let's dive in. What's the first one, let's say, that's caught your curious eye this week?
Well, I'm going to go back to episode 11, which was Dr. Brock Bastian, who was a really nice guy. He played with us with some really silly thought experiments, as I recall.
One of our best.
And he had a major thesis which ran along exploring the paradox of pain and pleasure, wasn't it? And how actually there was a need for pain as a useful part of the human condition. So that was really interesting in and of itself. But ultimately, his was a journey which was intensely curious. And so the advice that he was given is to leaders, people in organizations, is to be curious, and as leaders to come with open questions. So very early on, it was that idea that satisfied me to kind of go, yes, that's what I thought. I thought that leaders didn't need to have answers. They need to have questions. And that was something that Brock talked to. And then very nicely at the end, actually on the Maniguesto tree, which is on the website, he just then says, hey, look, and in all my learning, just remember to enjoy the journey, which I thought was a nice human moment.
Yeah, which is really why the guests are so great. And I love the thought experiment with Brock was guess the pain, wasn't it? Like guess the noise for the pain. So, one of our finer moments. He was very good at it.
I do remember being very nervous, and Brock should know this now, thinking, I've got no clue if this is going to go well or not.
Does this translate well to academia?
I thought the podcast was in danger of potentially finishing after 11 episodes at that moment, but thankfully Brock was very game and played it well. So thank you, Brock. So that was my first little insight there, yeah, from Brock Bastian. How about you?
I'm going to jump to episode 73 with Professor and neuroscientist Sophie Scott, and I loved her piece on a Maniguesto. Laughter is intensely social. So I guess a couple of things caught my eye and ear. Like laughter, I guess, is we always thought, let's do a not so serious business podcast because, hey, serious is already taken. And look, you feel good having a few laughs. And I like that piece around at the heart of all the angst there might be. You know, people tend to focus on the negative, especially when you read the press and different things and inspirational world leaders and different things as well, which pretty much exist in every country. Just that idea of laughter and how...
This is the other podcast, Simon. Stick to the script.
Sorry.
Don't start talking about world events.
Going to my After Dark podcast, Serious Times with Simon Banks. But yeah, just that piece around laughter as social. What a nice sort of thing. We get together, we laugh, we feel good. And I'm imagining, we've been laughing since the beginning of time. And what also sticks out from that episode is rats laugh. Was that what they do?
Yeah, rats are ticklish. Yes,
yeah, that's it. Okay.
Ticklish,
yeah.
I would respond to that. And I think that did really stick with me as well, because I think we were saying that laughter gets people in a place where they are potentially more playful, and the playfulness leads to curiosity, and the curiosity leads to creativity. So it felt like that laughter was a bit of a spark, as we say. And I like that idea. And I do try to have that in mind whenever you're working with teams and groups, to try and find the moment of levity, then just changes the atmosphere and can get you into a place where they're a bit more open to creative thinking or spinning off in different flights of fancy or imagination. So yeah, I like that one.
And I read an article recently, they said, who are your best friends or the people you like hanging out with the most? And they said, think of the people you laugh with the most. That's your crew. So I thought, that's a really nice way to think about it as well. So, a little bit of laughter from Professor Sophie Scott. All right, John, I am going to use an Australian football term, and I'm going to handball back to you. Who caught your curious ear or eye from one of our other episodes?
Well, I'm going to then jump to Jen Frahm, Dr. Jen Frahm, who was the kind of change specialist, as it were.
Change fairy,
that was it, yes. Change fairy. So some really interesting work that she was involved in. And of course, much of the heart of what organizations are doing is trying to navigate change, which is a continuous state. But her learning was take more hot showers. Now, I could take that literally and just go, thank you, that's great, and it has improved my life, no end. Or I think this was on the idea of the classic idea that you have those creative light bulb moments when you're daydreaming, and that might be in the shower, it might be on a walk, or it might be sort of, gazing out the window of a train as you're sort of rattling through the countryside. But whatever it was, I thought that idea that those moments of creativity or those sparks of ideas can come in those moments where you're not necessarily least expecting it, but certainly where you're allowing I can't remember the part of the brain that kicks in, but there's
subconscious,
the subconscious, unfiltered part of the brain kicks in, and suddenly dots are joined or ideas emerge, and then you get out of the shower and scribble it down on a pad of paper, unless you've got a waterproof one in the shower with you.
Or you write it on the steam in the shower and then wonder what's happened when it's not there a little bit later. And look, it's a really nice way to think about it. It's very hard to turn off. And when you generally find people...
the shower?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Her shower's broken.
All right.
We have poor washers here in Australia, so you can't turn your tap off depending on where you live. But that ability to be able to turn off, and often it's forced upon us. Not forced upon us, but like it's something we might do naturally anyway. But again, most people say their best thinking happens in those moments of, let's say, silence, or you have less stimulation. Yeah, so away from your phone, you're running, you're swimming, you're walking, you're in the shower. You can only focus on, one thing, and then boom, there it goes.
Yeah. And in the work that we do, I know that obviously there's some crossovers in the work we do, and particularly with teams. I'm always thinking of how to build in those moments. Dare I say, hot shower moments. I don't call them that, obviously.
Saucy.
that is
HR.
definitely hashtag territory. Hashtag territory completely. But the idea, the concept of giving them time to be able to have moments of enlightenment, perhaps through solo reflection or creating the environment or whatever, I think it's really key. So yeah, that's number 2 for me. Your next one, Simon?
I'm going to go right back to Ash Perrin, who's right at the beginning. Now, Ash Perrin is a professional clown and heads up the charity, the Flying Seagull Circus. I have got that right. And they travel around the world, bringing joy and laughter to kids and communities that might not experience everything from war zones to refugee camps through to maybe lower socioeconomic areas or groups that may not have that normal access. And I loved his one, every world-changing idea started out as rubbish. And I think this, for me, just goes so deeply to the heart of being able to come up with ideas, because we bang on about, we've got this inbuilt perfectionism. Organizations have it. Don't show me anything unless it's perfect. What's the business case? All of that type of stuff. And it's almost everything is shut down before it has a chance to breathe. So I think there's 2 ways to think about it. One, for yourself, understand that, hey, sounds like a bit of a stupid idea, but every idea was half-assed or half-baked or when it first formed. Be open to knowing that your idea will grow and you'll be able to iterating it. And also, if you lead a team or you're involved with a group of people in any way, shape or form, be open to those things which will test your biases and filters and what you think is normal. Go, all right, yeah, okay. Just sit on something. Don't choose to respond straight away. Or if you're going to respond to find out more. So, hey, there's a bit of a monologue there, John. But yeah, so I love that. Yeah.
And all I was thinking is, every world-changing idea does start as rubbish. I mean, for example, my aquarium coffee shop just hasn't gone anywhere, but I'm keep working on it. Maybe there's some iteration where it suddenly becomes brilliant.
Well, I think the challenge you've been having is you're inviting people to swim in the aquarium and order a coffee. So I'm thinking, have the coffee shop with the aquarium to the side. I think it's just some logistical stuff. Yeah.
See?
So you're almost there.
I need you in my idea generating group. Yes, I think that's right. And the other thing with Ash is he started to highlight very early on, to your point, about the environment then that those ideas are thrown into. And that goes a lot to a theme which is very zeitgeist at the minute, which is psychological safety, is the ability for you to have an environment whereby these ideas can come in and you genuinely know that they'll be received and taken and built upon, or set to one side, but respectfully and politely, and you won't be shut down and made to feel like an idiot.
And isn't it nice though and you would probably see plenty of times when you see that is within a group, and plenty of times when you possibly don't see it is within a group. Isn't it great though when that is in that group? Like, what a difference it makes to productivity, to output, to momentum, to not just that sort of the feel good vibes, but actually what it does to getting you where you want to be faster. Like, it's transformational. So it's not just all that woo-woo stuff and that's the rough and tumble and the dagger and thrust of corporate life or different. That's bullshit. That just kills that whole productivity stuff, because if ideas are allowed to shine, ideas move forward, good things happen. I'm going to use a rugby league term, and I'm going to spiral the ball backwards to you, John, as you run onto the pass. Who's someone?
I've dropped it and tripped over.
Right. There we go.
My last one is Neil Mullarkey. We've been fortunate to have had Neil be with us on 2 occasions. The first occasion was back episode 16, And Neil talked about, well, there's two things. On the Maniguesto, he's got the idea that people are doing their best and never forget that, which is such a lovely sentiment that, as you say, we're just immersed in the world of work, day in, day out, surrounded by people. And if you just assume positive intent and say, look, they are trying their best, same as me, and that is true, 99.9% of the time, that's what's going on, that changes the dynamic in organizations and teams and stuff. So I really like that sentiment.
And look, I think the same, John. Like sometimes I get off a show and I think, John, a bit below par. And then I think in the back of my mind, no, he's doing his best and I feel a bit better. So I think, don't be like that.
No. What you have to realise about me, Simon, is I don't have positive intent. I'm trying to sink the show and bring you down with me.
I think John tried his best. Not that funny, but hey. On another note, this is a side note. There's a lot of Australians who find your voice quite soothing. I think there's a few people who I think like your voice a little bit too much, if you know what
I mean. The cut glass, received pronunciation, British accent.
I think they'd like you to do their sleep stories or something,
There we go. I knew there'd be a spin-off eventually. I knew this podcast would lead to something that I could use to change the world. There we go.
Sleep stories.
Sleep bedtime stories. Okay. I'm going to continue with Neil Mullarkey. So as well as that lovely sentiment about people who are doing their best, he then has a big thing to say around this idea of serendipity. And he says, be open to serendipity. And it really is just staying aware, isn't it? It's like paying attention, which is something Julian Bagini said, episode 60, which is just being aware of stuff, paying attention to stuff intently, to people, to ideas, to things, because you never know when that opportunity just comes together and you can spot opportunities that others may miss. And I think there's a huge thing there in that creativity, spotting the things that other people may just pass on by. So being open to serendipity, I love that. Which I know you love the word serendipity as well. We try to fit it in as many sentences as we can, don't we?
We do. It's serendipitous when you lean into it, how often you can bring it up. And if you haven't watched it, watch Darren Brown's episode of The Lucky Butcher or The Lucky Dog.
Oh, God, don't start. Do not start on the Lucky Butcher story again, please.
It took me 95 episodes to work it out, but I got it. The Lucky Dog. Anyway, yeah.
Hold a second. Yes, we had him back again. I know what you're going to say. Go on.
Yeah,
what else did Neil say?
No, well, I loved on his last one, he said use the word flan wherever possible. So
yeah. I think he was getting fed up with us using the word serendipity. So he's trying to change tack.
And I think that maybe came from a word that you don't hear used very often anymore. I'm not quite sure how. But I think maybe for one of our improv sketches. But anyway, I liked it. So if you got nothing else this week, you're in a meeting, see if you can pop in the word flan and get a little smirk from your teammates.
If you want to send any video evidence, we will award points and potentially prizes. I don't know. I don't know what the prizes will be.
If you can send in a video of yourself saying flan in a team meeting, we'll get you on the show. That's our promise.
Is that an incentive?
Well, I'm not sure, but anyway, like it's something to tell your kids. So. Yeah. John, one more I want to highlight just before we head off for our 100-something episode, and this was Dr. Cyndi Burnett, episode 82. Her one was be open to novelty. And you think how all of these things come through, okay? An environment of psychological safety, that's what we're speaking about, maybe I would say is connected to allowing serendipity to happen because you're not scared, you're open. Also, we've heard from all of our guests around this idea of curiosity, but I love when you're in that curious state, be open to the new, okay? Because you can be curious, but maybe looking for things you've seen before, I'm imagining. But I love be open to novel, and life's pretty novel, okay? So, mic drop moment. But isn't it like, there's novel stuff.
Is that your Maniguesto contribution? Life's quite
pretty
novel.
man.
Put you on the tree.
Thanks. But just be open to the new, and it goes back to, we spoke about VUCA v. tuna. Tuna is turbulent, uncertain, novel, and ambiguous. So I like that, just that idea of novel. Be open to the new and be curious about what's possible.
Well, that was really nice, Simon. I enjoyed having a little retrospective dive back into the past 100 episodes or so. And yeah, makes you realize just the quality of guests that we've had and the insights that they've brought. It's been
surprising they've come on the show, really.
You'd think the word would be out there by now. and they put the phone down if they got the call.
And, we get our EA to call them, but the way our EA sorts the letters to the editor, I'm surprised anything happens on the show. So, but no, look, we can talk about how good it is to be at 100 episodes, but really the joy of that has been the great guests we've had. So if you've liked the show or you sort of think, hey, here's someone you might be good on the show, and we always want to speak to the people taking the path less traveled. So they've come at life from a slightly different angle. They've jumped over a few different things. They've looked at life with a fresh set of eyes. They've been curious about their world around them. Anyone who's taken the path less traveled, you think, hey, they should be on your show, please send in our details, which you can do via our website. So, John, I'm going to leave it to you to close us out with the 4 to 5 things we try to say, sometimes forget. Let's see how you go.
Yeah, 100 episodes or so in now. I should remember these. So in the meantime, stay curious, play more, have fun, make stuff, and...
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. I was hoping you'd fail. However, you should always leave the house and date life.